Hello, welcome to 365 Days with the Manifestor, number 11, day 11. I am in my comfy outfit. It's raining outside all day today, and it's given me a lot of time to reflect. There's been something that's kind of bubbling up behind the scenes of all of my learning about human design. And when it's said that we are meant to make decisions based on our authority and not our mental state, because the mind is not a decision maker, I feel that sometimes is interpreted as that the mind does not play a crucial role in our existence. And the mind is kind of, I don't know, it just seems a little bit demonized sometimes in some of the things that I read and some of the feelings that seem to be portrayed about the mind. And as an Aquarius person with a Gemini moon, I'm super, super airy, which means that I have a lot of mind and thinking and intellectual pursuits. I'm very mind driven, and so to come to that feeling tone about the mind that it's unimportant in some ways, or it has, like I said, been villainized as taking over and usurping everything, and no longer having what seems to be a valid point or a valid place in the discussion of human design. I feel like we just need a more balanced approach oftentimes, and I say it's more just stuff that I'm seeing being written and the way people talk about mind as if it's, a bad thing. I was in my mind. Well, okay, but your mind is a center. It's a really important one. So is it really all that bad to have something filter through a mind, particularly if that's the way you're wired? I mean, I guess my point is, I think it's really important when we come to human design to not go overboard. I'm finding that I have to have a balance of all of this. And I have my mind is an open center rather than a closed center. So I take in and, I have this non-fixed way of thinking, so my mind goes all over the place. And I absorb other people's thoughts. I oftentimes will, I know that sounds weird, but sometimes I can even hear different things that people are, I don't know if they're necessarily thinking them, but it's definitely a vibe I'm picking up. And I think a lot of that has to do with my open mind center. And so I'm really grateful for that ability. I'm really grateful that the mind has a role in this. Now, I will say that because of that open center, I do wrestle with doubts and questions and, the not self theme of always trying to answer other people's questions and thinking on unimportant things. But I think that's where the authority comes in, right? It was like, if the mind is kind of going and doing its own thing, and you're going to make a decision, checking with that authority, for mine it's splenic authority, and if I don't have an instantaneous feeling one way or about it or another, then I know that it's not right for me. Because a neutral also means no. It just means wait, really. And so I think the bottom line is that we don't want to assume that everything that's happening in our minds and everything that we're thinking about is legitimately us, is a self-expression of our inner being. However, it does play the mind as a central pressure point, pressure to create, pressure to think, pressure to analyze and categorize and understand the world around us. It has a role to play, and I think it's really important that we don't demonize it. So if you are someone like me who has a lot of air in your chart, a lot of airy energy, and a lot of being in your mind, I would like to encourage you to be a little more gentle with yourself in the process of understanding your human design, because we're not all designed the same. We're not all emotional beings, or we're not all sacral beings, obviously, and we're not all, ego beings. We are a mix of all these things, and all these centers play together in a harmony that becomes us. The real issue is valuing what each energy that it brings to us, rather than coming at it from kind of like a negative or critical point of view, which I've really had to wrestle with, So that's my takeaway for the day, is to understand that each of the centers that we have plays an important role, and we don't want to necessarily demonize or separate out our authority from the rest of our lives. It's a part of it. It's meant to be unified. It's meant to help us through life, not complicate things. So I'm just kind of taking a step back from myself, from getting too overboard with things as far as making sure I got to understand it all. I don't have to understand it all. What I have to do is check in with myself, make sure I am initiating when I feel that splenic pull to initiate, and chilling out when I don't, and being okay with resting and not feeling like I'm a generator and having to go and do and complete all these things, because that's not what a manifestor is for. We're meant to initiate when it's time and when we feel like the call to do so, from within, instead of being asked from without. So anyway, I know that was somewhat of a ramble, but I'm hoping it was helpful to someone. If any of you out there are struggling with where your mind and the head center falls in line with the rest of it, if you have an open one like me and you're constantly picking up other people's thoughts and energies in that department, take heart, you're not alone. And reach out anytime if you want me to talk about other factors or other things. I'd be happy to. And this is just what I've been musing on lately, is how being in the mind isn't a bad thing. It's actually really beneficial, and some really great things come of it. And it's not an evil thing, and it's not separate from the rest of the system. It is a necessary part for many of us. So that's what I wanted to say. Don't be afraid of the mind. Just make sure that you're checking in with your authority before those decisions are made. I think that's the general bottom line that I've found so far. All right. Hope that helps you guys. I'll talk to you again tomorrow.